Max Verstappen doesn't just drive faster than other Formula One drivers, he feels grip earlier than they do, and that tiny difference might explain why Max can turn into corners sooner, rotate the car faster, and reach the throttle earlier than almost anyone else on the grid. But here's the strange part. Every Formula One driver sits in the same type of carbon fiber cockpit. Every Formula One steering wheel sends feedback through the same type of electronic systems. Every driver studies telemetry. Every driver works with engineers who measure tyre loads and steering forces with incredible precision. So why does Max seem to know exactly when the car will stick before everyone else? How can one driver trust the front tyres earlier than the rest of the field? And here's the bigger question we'll answer later. Does Verstappen dominate because he feels grip earlier? Or does he feel grip earlier because Red Bull built a car that communicates grip better than others? Because once you understand how drivers actually sense grip through steering torque, chassis vibration, load transfer, and aerodynamic balance, you'll realize that feeling grip is not just instinct, it's a technical advantage. And it might be one of the biggest hidden reasons behind Verstappen's dominance. Most fans imagine grip as something simple. Either the car sticks or it slides. But in Formula One, grip is never that clear. Grip builds progressively. When a driver brakes into a corner at 300 km per hour, weight transfers forward extremely quickly. Front tyres compress into the asphalt while rear tyres become lighter. Downforce is still high because speed remains high. Tyre deformation increases. Slip angle builds gradually. The tyre does not suddenly reach peak grip. Instead, grip rises in a curve. Somewhere along that curve is the moment of maximum front grip, the point where the tyre can generate the greatest lateral force before sliding. Drivers must sense exactly when that peak arrives. Turn too early and the front pushes wide. Turn too late and rotation begins too slowly. Verstappen often turns at exactly the moment front grip peaks. The difference might be only hundredths of a second, but that timing determines how quickly the car rotates, and rotation timing determines exit speed. Here's where the physics becomes important. Formula One tyres generate grip through a combination of vertical load and slip angle. Vertical load is how much force presses the tyre into the road. Slip angle is the difference between the direction the tyre is pointing and the direction it is travelling. Maximum grip exists within a narrow slip angle window, often around 3 to 6 degrees depending on conditions. Too little slip angle means the tyre is not working hard enough. Too much slip angle means the tyre slides and overheats. Verstappen consistently operates within that narrow window earlier than rivals. This allows him to rotate the car sooner. Early rotation shortens the path to the apex. A shorter path means earlier throttle. Earlier throttle means higher exit speed. But here's the first big mystery. How does he know when grip is ready? Drivers primarily sense grip through steering torque. When front tyres generate lateral force, resistance builds in the steering system. That resistance travels through the steering column into the driver's hands. When grip increases, steering feels heavier. When grip decreases, steering becomes lighter. Verstappen appears extremely sensitive to those changes. Engineers often mention how precisely he reports front grip levels after practice sessions. He can detect subtle balance differences that other drivers need several laps to confirm. This sensitivity allows him to push earlier. It allows him to commit sooner. It allows him to trust the car before others are certain. Steering feel is only one part of grip sensing. Drivers also feel grip through vibration. When tyres approach the limit of adhesion, microscopic sliding occurs. That sliding produces vibration frequencies that travel through the chassis. Drivers feel those vibrations through the seat, pedals, and steering wheel. Experienced drivers learn to interpret these signals. Verstappen appears particularly skilled at distinguishing between approaching the limit and exceeding it. This distinction is crucial. Many drivers wait until they are certain grip exists before committing. Verstappen commits while grip is still building. That leads to the next question. If sensing grip is so important, why can't other drivers train themselves to do it the same way? The answer involves reaction time and perception. Drivers process sensory information differently. The time required to interpret steering load and vibration signals varies slightly from person to person. Even a difference of a few hundredths of a second matters in Formula One. Verstappen's reaction timing allows him to interpret signals quickly and confidently. But reaction speed alone is not enough. Confidence matters equally. Drivers who hesitate lose time. Drivers who commit early gain it. Verstappen commits early because he trusts his interpretation of grip signals. Telemetry reveals this difference clearly. Steering traces often show Verstappen beginning rotations slightly earlier than teammates and rivals. Brake release traces often show longer overlap between braking and steering. Throttle traces often show earlier application. These patterns connect together. Earlier grip sensing enables earlier rotation. Earlier rotation enables earlier throttle. Earlier throttle produces higher exit speed. Over a lap, these small advantages accumulate into measurable gains. Now we return to the second big question. Does Verstappen feel grip earlier because of the Red Bull car? Red Bull cars have historically emphasized strong front-end response. Aerodynamic balance and suspension geometry provide consistent steering feedback. This helps drivers sense grip more clearly. But Verstappen's teammates have driven the same cars. The difference remains. Sergio Perez repeatedly described difficulty predicting front grip during entry. Verstappen rarely expressed the same concerns. This suggests driver sensitivity plays a major role. However, the relationship between driver and car goes both ways. Engineers design cars based on driver feedback. Verstappen's ability to exploit front grip influenced Red Bull's development direction. Suspension characteristics were tuned to maintain predictable load transfer. Aerodynamic stability was refined to keep steering feedback consistent. Over several seasons, this created a car-driver combination that maximized entry performance. Verstappen's sensitivity allowed engineers to push design limits further because they knew he could exploit the behavior. Another factor behind grip sensing is experience. Verstappen began karting at an extremely young age. Karting requires constant grip awareness because karts lack suspension. Drivers must interpret tyre behavior directly through the chassis. There is no suspension to absorb feedback. This environment forces drivers to develop sensitivity to small grip changes. Those habits carried into single-seater racing and eventually into Formula One. Many drivers develop sensitivity through experience, but Verstappen's early exposure may have accelerated the process. Grip sensing also influences tyre temperature management. When a driver exceeds optimal slip angle, friction generates heat. Heat increases surface temperature rapidly. Surface temperature transfers into carcass temperature over time. Excess carcass temperature reduces long-run performance. Verstappen's early grip sensing allows him to operate near peak grip without exceeding it. This reduces unnecessary heat spikes. Lower heat spikes preserve tyre performance. This is why his aggressive corner entries do not always produce the degradation rivals expect. The importance of grip sensing becomes even clearer when we consider aerodynamic load. Formula One cars rely heavily on downforce. Downforce increases with speed. As drivers brake into corners, speed decreases and downforce drops. Mechanical grip must compensate for the loss. Drivers must sense exactly when aerodynamic grip transitions into mechanical grip dominance. Verstappen appears particularly skilled at sensing this transition. He adjusts steering and brake release timing to match changing load conditions. This brings us to the future, the 2026 regulations. The next generation of Formula One cars will introduce active aerodynamics, lighter chassis, and new power unit characteristics. Active aero systems will change downforce levels dynamically. Aerodynamic load may shift more rapidly than before. Drivers will need to sense grip transitions precisely. Early grip sensing could become even more valuable. Drivers who detect load changes earliest will commit earliest. Early commitment still produces lap time. But 2026 also introduces new risks. Active aero systems may produce less predictable load transitions. Downforce may change at different rates depending on speed and mode. Drivers who commit too early risk instability. Verstappen's early commitment style could become riskier if load transitions become less predictable. Lighter cars also reduce inertia. Lower inertia means quicker direction changes but smaller margins for error. Grip sensing must be even more precise. Electric power units will also influence grip sensing. Increased electrical deployment produces instant torque. Instant torque affects rear stability on exit. Drivers who rotate early must manage torque carefully. Verstappen's ability to sense grip early may help him apply throttle precisely as rear grip builds. This could maintain his advantage in exit performance. But if electric torque overwhelms grip more easily, margins may shrink. So we arrive at the central idea behind this entire topic. Verstappen's advantage is not simply aggression, it is timing. Timing based on sensing grip earlier than rivals. Timing based on interpreting feedback faster. Timing based on trusting those signals completely. What looks like fearless driving is often precise timing at the edge of grip. When you watch Verstappen dive into a corner, the speed looks dramatic. The rotation looks aggressive. The throttle application looks early, but underneath that aggression is a technical process. Steering torque signals, chassis vibration signals, load transfer signals, aerodynamic signals. Verstappen interprets them quickly and acts immediately. So now consider this. If Verstappen truly senses grip earlier than other drivers, if telemetry shows earlier rotation and earlier throttle, why does that advantage persist even when rivals study the same data? Is it talent? Is it experience? Or is it confidence in interpreting signals at the limit? Comment below. Do you think Verstappen's ability to feel grip early is his biggest hidden advantage in Formula One, or will the 2026 regulations reduce that advantage? And if you enjoy deep technical breakdowns like this, subscribe now, because next we'll analyze why some drivers struggle in dirty air, while Verstappen often looks less affected. Because Formula One speed isn't always about pushing harder. Sometimes it's about knowing exactly when the car will stick.